Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
It appears the search is over as authorities were looking in Jordan Lake for a 21-year-old who disappeared during the storms last night. I'll have the latest of what we found out in the last 30 minutes.
Plus, down power lines. You're taking a live look in Durham as teams are trying to get the lights back on after storms knocked out power overnight. We're going to take you to the scene to learn a little bit more about the efforts underway.
And here's the front that caused all those power outages and that stormy weather last night. It has moved on out, and what we get behind it is a little break from the humidity. I'll show you how long that will last.
Thanks so much for waking up with us here on WRAL News and Fox 50. I am Chris Lovingood. We do want to go back to Elizabeth there because it's the heat. That's the thing that we're really talking about for the weekend.
And Chris, you know, that's the thing we're talking about all the way until about the middle of September, but it does vary. And we're going to see some big changes today and then into the weekend. Right now, we're taking a live look at downtown Raleigh from our Jimmy V camera down Fayetteville Street. We can see partly cloudy skies off in the distance. The temperature is 73, but the dew point is 65. And when the dew point drops down to 65, it definitely feels more comfortable. On the muggy meter, we put that right there at nice. And so, hey, not bad. We'll take that, especially with the heat that we've seen, of course, over the last 7 days and the heat that is coming in the next 7 days. Right now, temperatures range from 68 in Roxborough to 78 in Fayetteville, and we're in the low to mid 70s in the Triangle. But that is still about 5 to 8 degrees cooler, at least from the Triangle area northward, than what we saw this time yesterday. This is a look at the dew point. The dew point is the measure of moisture in the atmosphere, and watch how that drops nicely as we head into the afternoon, all the way down to 61. We don't often see a dew point in the low 60s as we head into the summer. Now, it is still going to be hot. We'll see 90 to 91 this afternoon, but there's no heat index that goes with it. Unlike yesterday, we hit 94 and it felt more like 98. So it does feel a little more comfortable for today. Now, once we get into Sunday and Monday and Tuesday in particular, we're looking at much hotter temperatures and a big high heat index. That makes the heat dangerous, and we'll talk about how long that could last. Ken?
Hi, Elizabeth, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. We've got a couple of incidents happening in the downtown area that's causing some issues. This one is a stalled vehicle on P Street and Wilmington, not really a big issue, but it's the crash involving a bus on Lenore and Salisbury, and with hearing courtesy of some radio traffic that Lenore could be closed between Salisbury and Wilmington. So if you're heading to the downtown area, you work near that area, this is around the Residence Inn, the Convention Center, just know that you'll be running into a little bit of delay, so keep that in mind. This is a serious crash just reported on Highway 55 right there, just north of Holly Springs, near State Road 540. Right now, we're not seeing any delays in that area, but I'll keep an eye on it and let you know how it's going to affect your morning commute, if at all. Here's a live look at I-40 and Lake Wheeler Road. You can see traffic is really picking up on the westbound lanes, but really flowing nicely in both directions. You're getting ready to head out the door. Tune us in on the radio, 101.5 HD3.
Jeff Hogan in the WRAL Live Center got some brand new information. In just the last 40 minutes or so, search crews pulled a body out of Jordan Lake. Not going to show you that, but we do have some video from Sky 5 while that search was taking place. Those crews had been in the area of Jordan Lake looking for a 21-year-old man who they knew had been fishing off the rocks below the dam last night when the storms hit. You know how fast they spun up? That is a swift current area as well, right by the dam. He fell in. Authorities know his name. They know who it is. They're not giving us that name just yet. We are waiting to confirm the name and if it is, in fact, the person who was pulled out of the water. All indications do point to that. It appears that search is over. Disappointing and really a sad ending.
Definitely going to be a sad day for that family. Thank you, Jeff. We have more breaking news that we're following this morning as we track the efforts to get power restored all across the Triangle. WRAL's Laura Levine joins us now with what's going on in Durham. And Laura, they have been very busy out there trying to get the power restored.
And here's why, Chris. We're looking at dozens of utility poles and power poles that came down overnight. Right now, we continue to look at an active scene here as more trucks are moving in and out of the area working to restore a lot of the damage that we see here from the overnight storms. A total of 8,000 customers were without power during the peak of this storm overnight in Durham. That number is down to 800. We are seeing progress. However, here on Holloway Street near Breedlove Avenue, this continues to be the scene. And we're actually not too far from the Durham Ridge Assisted Living Facility, so we want to mention that as well because we did see EMS trying to navigate some of this earlier this morning to get to that living living facility. We're surrounded by some homes and businesses as well. So certainly having a lot of impact on people within this area. In this pocket of the outages we're seeing and reporting in Durham, it's about 50 customers without power. However, the Durham sheriff is now saying that this will likely be a road that is shut down well into the evening. According to the Duke Energy outage map, they're reporting that the estimated time of restoration likely won't be until 10 o'clock tonight. So if you are traveling in this area, just be mindful that this road is going to be closed down and you'll have to find a detour. Laura Levine, WRAL News, live in Durham.
Demonstrators were in Raleigh this morning in response to a high-profile immigration bill. And today, we're waiting to learn whether Governor Josh Stein will veto that bill. WRAL's Ali Kadlubar has been outside the governor's mansion and the WRAL Breaking News Tracker. At one point, I saw quite a few people out there. Ali, are they still there? They moved a little bit?
Yes, well, that press conference that they just had did wrap up about 10 minutes ago. It was about 30 minutes long. There was more than a dozen people there. They say they represented the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Now, this protest started around 7 a.m., so early this morning, right in front of the governor's mansion, and they were shouting, "Wake up, Stein," all demanding action against the anti-immigration, demanding action for the governor to veto the anti-immigration bills that are in place. Now, the governor's office does say that he's in Paris for an air show right now, and they did address that, saying that it was unjust for him to be out of the country during this time. Of course, we are still expecting the governor to either veto or approve or pass those bills today. Reporting in Raleigh, Ali Kadlubar, WRAL News.
15 people are out of their homes because of a fire at an apartment complex near Jones Franklin Road in Raleigh. The WRAL Breaking News Tracker was there this morning. I mean, look at the flames you can see right here and the smoke. More than 60 firefighters had to respond to this, and they say it was caused by power lines that fell into the building. Teams were able to restore power just after 5 o'clock this morning, and at last check, no one was injured. 2 people are charged because a 16-year-old girl was shot in Tarboro. Police say this happened shortly before 7 o'clock last night on Linden Street. The teenager was shot in the leg and she was taken to the hospital. Police have since issued arrest warrants for Zaquan Whitehead and Messiah Whitehead, but it's unclear if they're related and if so, how they're related. A dog that attacked a child in Wake Forest was shot and killed. This happened at a home just off Lewisburg Road yesterday afternoon. This morning, it's unclear what led up to the attack and who shot the dog. Animal Control and the Wake County Sheriff's Office responded to that house. A deputy on the scene said the child's injuries were not life-threatening, but their condition, that's unclear. In Wake County, dogs are required to be leashed when off their owner's property, except in designated park areas. Dog owners can be held liable for medical bills and damages if their pet bites someone. Search and rescue efforts are underway as the conflict between Israel and Iran marks 1 week today. An Iranian airstrike hit an office building in Beersheba, Israel, and that's where rescuers are looking for people who are injured. Video from Israel's Emergency Services Agency shows the damage left behind. The conflict between the two sides began last Friday, and that's when Israel launched a series of strikes that killed Iranian military officials. President Donald Trump is giving a timeline of 2 weeks before deciding on whether the U.S. will strike Iran. And gas prices are rising. Data released by AAA around 3 o'clock this morning shows the average price for a gallon of regular in North Carolina is about $2.93 right now, and that's up 8 cents from a week ago. In Raleigh, the average is $2.96, and nationwide, it's about $3.22 per gallon. Now, gas prices are expected to rise as a result of the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. An analyst with Gas Buddy says prices could rise 10 to 20 cents, and diesel could climb 15 to 25 cents in the coming days. Now, as for why this is, petroleum analysts say that when there's instability in one major oil-producing region, well, prices tend to rise everywhere. Not because of an immediate supply issue, but because of fear one could happen. And that fear is often reflected in oil future markets, and that affects gas prices.
If you're hitting the road with a camper RV, the price of diesel could rise even more dramatically, maybe posting an increase of 15 to 30 cents over the next 1 to 2 weeks. And a lot could change. Obviously, as the situation in the Middle East changes, that could change the trajectory for how high oil prices go and if there's any sort of relief coming.
Oil and gas prices also affect the cost of transporting goods throughout the supply chain. A new court ruling allows President Donald Trump to keep using the National Guard to respond to immigration protests in L.A. A federal appeals court ruled the San Francisco judge was wrong when he ordered the president to return control of the troops to California's governor. A unanimous decision from the three-judge panel states that while there are limits to presidential control over a state's National Guard, the Trump administration has presented enough evidence to show it had a defensible reason for doing so. Your time is 8:10. Severe weather cleanup. Communities all across the country hit with severe weather in the last 24 hours. How people just north of us are faring this morning. Plus, honoring Juneteenth. How people commemorated the holiday and what's in store for more celebrations this weekend.
And today we get a break from the humidity. It'll still be hot with highs in the low 90s, but that's all it will feel. So if you have some yard work you need to get done, because you should do it today, because boy, we get into next week and the heat becomes dangerous. I'll show you. 8:13, take a live look here at Lake Gaston, looking absolutely beautiful. Some people out on the lake. Now's a great time to be outside before it gets too hot. Now, this afternoon will feel like the actual temperature. You know, we've been dealing with a high heat index lately. We have drier air that worked its way in behind yesterday's front. So 68 in Roxborough, 67 Garner, 69 in Cary. It's a nice, comfortable start out there this morning. Still a great day to head to the pool. Highs will be in the low 90s, and it'll feel like the low 90s. No thunderstorms in sight for the next several days. As we get into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, our intense heat returns. I'll show you how it will feel, especially with the heat index coming up. Ken?
Elizabeth, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. We have a handful of issues on our live traffic map this morning, but the one I really want to bring your attention to that's really the troubled spot is this crash on Highway 55 near US 1 at Apex. You can see right there Williams Road and the huge delays it's causing. Here's what it looks like, courtesy of our live cam network this morning. You can see 2 lanes are completely blocked in those northbound lanes, so you have onlooker delay in the southbound lanes as well. So if this is part of your morning commute, just know you'll be running into a little bit of a delay. I'll get some alternate routes for you in just the next few minutes.
All right, thank you, Ken. I do want to show you some of the damage left behind from storms in the D.C. area. I mean, look at this. This is video of a tree that fell down on top of a car on an interstate there. Trees and power lines were down all across the D.C., Maryland, and Virginia areas. That's because powerful winds and heavy rain rolled through during the evening commute. Thousands of people lost power last night, and both Reagan and Dulles airports recorded wind speeds of more than 60 miles per hour. A new video shows the aftermath of flooding and a rock slide that closed a section of I-40 for 2 weeks. Now, this is near the North Carolina-Tennessee border, if you're familiar. It's the same area damaged during Helene. The interstate is blocked in both directions. Teams are working to clean up the mud and debris and assess the damage there. Local leaders say people were trapped in homes and cars. Some of these people climbed onto their vehicles just to escape the flooding. Images from the Tennessee side show vehicles submerged in floodwater. No injuries have been reported at last check, and detours are set up to help people get around that closure. Raleigh city leaders are giving people a chance to learn more about the plans for a major downtown street. Now, the city is hosting a series of open houses. This is to talk with people about the latest design plans for Fayetteville Street. According to the city, the Fayetteville Streetscapes plan is meant to design the area to help businesses. It would also improve walkability and make it easier to host events. Today's open house will be from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the City Plaza. Covering Johnston County, a public hearing is scheduled this morning for a $14 million request to expand the UNC Health Johnston-Clayton campus. Johnston Health Services is requesting the money from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, and this will go toward expanding the emergency department. The proposed project would be completed by February 2028, and today's hearing will start at 10 a.m. at the Triangle East Chamber of Commerce in Smithfield. This Juneteenth, people in Raleigh honored black soldiers who fought for their own freedom during the Civil War. The Capital City Juneteenth Celebration Committee held a tribute at the Raleigh National Cemetery, and they honored the U.S. Colored Troops. That was a regiment of mostly black soldiers who fought for the Union. 26 of those soldiers are buried at the Raleigh National Cemetery, and their role was critical in the Union winning the Civil War, leading to the end of slavery.
They need to know what has come before, that folks have sacrificed for them before, and so keeping the history alive is important.
According to the African American Civil War Museum, the U.S. colored troops made up 10% of the Union Army and 25% of the Union Navy. More than 200,000 people are listed as part of the regiment at the National Archives. And former President Joe Biden commemorated the Juneteenth holiday at a church in Galveston, Texas. The church calls itself the birthplace of Juneteenth. Large crowds gathered at the historic Reedy Chapel AME Church to remember the date, June 19th, 1865. That is the day the last enslaved people learned about their freedom in Galveston. And mind you, that was 2 years after President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. In 2021, then President Biden made Juneteenth a federal holiday. And during the service, he was presented with a plaque for his role in designating the holiday. 2 U.S. airlines are temporarily suspending some flights to the Middle East, and that's because of the conflict between Israel and Iran. United and American Airlines confirmed they halted some passenger flights. United says flights between Newark International and Dubai are now paused. American has adjusted its schedule between Doha and Philadelphia International, at least through Sunday. Pride returns to Raleigh and Juneteenth celebrations continue all across the area. Let's take a look at WRAL's Out and About Bests. Out Raleigh's annual Pride event returns to the downtown area this weekend. The festival focuses on celebrating the Triangle's LGBTQ community. There will be family-friendly entertainment, local food and vendors, and a beer garden that's going to be on Fayetteville Street. The main event runs from noon until 7 p.m. tomorrow, and all new this year, there will be an adult-only Pride night, and that's tonight from 6 p.m. until 10 p.m. Durham will celebrate the contribution and cultures of refugees and immigrants tomorrow. Durham Refugee Day runs from 3 p.m. until 6 p.m. at Durham Central Park. There will be live music, educational booths, activities for the kids, and food from all across the globe. This event is free to attend, just so you know. And this weekend is filled with events in recognition of Juneteenth still. Tomorrow, NC Central will host a festival celebrating culture and freedom on its campus from 1 p.m. until 8 p.m. There are also events happening at Garner, Cary, Holly Springs, Apex, you name it. And you can find the full list on WRAL.com. Just click the Out and About tab. Now, whether you're going to any of those events this weekend, you're going to have fun, sure, but make sure you're staying hydrated, folks. It is going to be in the 90s this weekend in Elizabeth. We're dipping into the hundreds at the start of next week.
Oh, yeah. Next week is going to be our first big heat wave of the year. And sometimes we don't even have a heat wave that looks like the one that we're about to see starting early next week. A nice shady place is going to be a wonderful spot as we get through the next several days. This is, of course, look at Hay Street here in Fayetteville. Beautiful trees there. Some nice shade. Looks very inviting right now. Of course, our cold front that brought all the storms yesterday has moved eastward. We're seeing a lot of sunshine and a nice drier atmosphere. Now, it's going to be warm. Temperatures climb to around 90 this afternoon, but we won't have a heat index to deal with. What we did see last night with the storms coming through is some wind damage. You can see the gray circles there. Those were all the spots where we had wind damage, mostly trees down, and there was a good bit of it. A little bit of that around Fayetteville and Clinton, a big cluster of it right here through the middle of the viewing area, and then another line up near the Virginia line. So a lot of folks ended up seeing that wind damage last night. Our next weather maker is a high pressure system that'll build in from the coast. That's going to bring us dangerous heat and fewer thunderstorms, so not a lot of opportunities to cool down. Big area of high pressure means sinking air. Sinking air is dry. Of course, that doesn't bring us much of a chance for storms. As the air sinks, it compresses and warms, and so this becomes a big heat dome. Highs will be in the mid-90s to right around 100. Again, we're going to hit 100 most likely on Monday and Tuesday. So both of those days are already WRAL weather alert days. We've had just a little update to our forecast here too, looking at 96 for the heat index tomorrow. Today, the heat index is likely to be just right around 90, 91. It'll feel like 102 though by Sunday, 110 Monday, and up to 113 on Tuesday. Most likely we will be under a heat advisory, maybe even an extreme heat warning for Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday also looking very hot. So what to do? There are definitely folks who have to work outside. Lots of breaks in the shade, drinking a lot of water, just be extremely careful. Impact of high heat is cumulative on your body. So if you're working outside, maybe Monday you're fine, Tuesday you're fine, and then Wednesday you're not. We're not going to see much rain coming along to help bring us any relief from the heat. But in terms of our drought status, things are looking pretty good. So we're happy about that. Saturday, it'll feel like the 90s, but it's going to feel like triple digits by Sunday. So if you're going to be outside Saturday, definitely would be the safer day for that. Once we hit Monday all the way through Thursday, once we get into the afternoon, you want to be inside as much as you can, Ken.
What is happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center? We got a real situation on Highway 55 Williams Road, if you will, there in Apex. You can see this crash shutting down at least one lane In those northbound lanes, just one lane of traffic is getting through as those first responders are working that crash scene. Of course, in the southbound lanes, you have quite a bit of onlooker delay. So keep that in mind if you're about to head out. Here's what it looks like on a live traffic map this morning in terms of Williams Road. You can see the huge delays it's causing there just before you get to US 1. Now, as we widen out the view, you're talking about an alternate route. Here's what we're looking at. I would recommend using State Highway 540 to get around US 1, and that'll put you next to US 1, or you can just take it all the way around the loop as well to avoid what's happening there on Highway 55 or Williams Road. Here's a live look at I-40 and Lake Wheeler Road. Those westbound lanes moving at a nice steady clip. Nothing that's going to make you late this morning. In terms of other major routes coming into the capital city, here's what we're looking at. You're just looking at a 2-minute delay coming in for Wake Forest and just a minute elsewhere. So wherever you're going on those major routes, it's going to be delay free. We do have a handful of incidents dotting our map this morning here in the capital city, but none of those issues are causing any problems for you this morning. Similarly, in Durham, if you're heading into Durham on any one of the major routes, it's all delay free at this hour.
All right, thank you, Ken. THC crackdown. State lawmakers are moving a bill along that would mean new restrictions for products that contain it in our state. We're going to look through what specifically would happen if the bill passed. And TikTok extension. President Donald Trump again gave the company more time to find a new buyer.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning. Your time is 8:26. I'm Chris Lovingood. Let's get you right to your weather forecast with meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner.
Starting off with lots of sunshine behind last night's storms. 73 in Wilson, 73 Durham, 78 in Fayetteville. The big thing that you'll notice today when you head outside, it's just not as humid as it was yesterday. Behind that front, it feels more comfortable. Still going to be hot. We'll see a high of 90, 91, but we're not looking at it feeling like any hotter than that. You know, it's been feeling like, mid 90s, upper 90s, so it'll feel like 90. So if you do have anything you need to get done outside, now's a great time to do it. Our temperatures are still in the mid 80s by around 1 o'clock this afternoon. Ken?
All right, Elizabeth, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. We got a real situation here on Highway 55, Williams Road, if you will, near US 1. Those northbound lanes of Highway 55, you can see first responders working this crash. At least one lane is closed. Just one lane of traffic is getting through. And of course, on the southbound lane, we have quite a bit of onlooker delays. So keep that in mind as we give you what it looks like on our live traffic sensors this morning. You can see the huge delays right there on Williams Road just before US 1. I would recommend taking State Highway 540 as an alternate route to avoid US 1 or Highway 55 if you're coming in from Pico Arena or somewhere in southern Wake County.
This morning, first responders have recovered a body near a dam at Jordan Lake as they search for a fisherman who was swept away last night. Responders say a 21-year-old was fishing near the rocks below the B. Everett Jordan Dam. That's when he fell in. A body was recovered shortly after 7 this morning, and authorities have identified the man they were searching for, but they are not releasing that name at this time. And teams are working on power lines in Durham after overnight storms knocked out power for thousands across the Triangle. More than 10,000 people lost electricity at one point last night, with more than 8,000 in Durham County alone. Next on Fox 50, the crackdown on THC in our state.
Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Heartbreaking discovery this morning as a body is pulled from Jordan Lake, right where authorities were searching for a 21-year-old man who had been fishing during storms last night.
Power outage repairs. Right now, teams are working to restore power after last night's storms. And in just a few minutes, we're going to give you a look at the effort to get electricity going again.
And last night's front is long gone, replaced by a drier air mass. Now, it's going to make it feel more comfortable today, but we'll see humidity moving back in for a big heat wave next week. I'll show it to you.
Major apartment fire. 15 people are out of their homes in Raleigh. We're going to bring you more video of the scene. As you can see, heavy flames and smoke that came from that building. An immigration bill protest. This morning, a gathering in Raleigh, pushing Governor Stein to veto potential new immigration laws. A look at the policy sitting on the governor's desk. Lots to cover this Friday morning as you're joining us here on WRAL News. I am Chris Lovingood, and this morning we're following the effects of severe storms that rolled through our area last night. Again, we talked about 15 people out of their homes after a downed tree and power lines caused a fire, and at one peak we saw 12,000 people without power in our viewing area. We even sent some photos of the lightning, as you can see it right there. And Elizabeth Gardner is tracking this morning in terms of the nicer look of how things are right now.
Once that front passed by, we've had some nice drier air move in. Now it's still going to be on the hot side, but it just won't be quite as humid. This is a live look at North Hills here in Raleigh, and you can see the blue sky there. Our dew point has dropped to 65, and on the muggy meter, that puts us at nice 73, though, as a warm start. It's pretty typical for this time of year. 78 in Fayetteville, 76 in Clinton, 70 in Roxborough, 73 in South Hill and in Rocky Mount. However, when you take a look at the temperatures this time yesterday, we're running 5 to 8 degrees cooler in a lot of places than we were this time yesterday. Our dew point begins to fall. Our dew point temperature is actually just a measure of moisture in the atmosphere. And when that number drops down into the low 60s this time of year, it feels more comfortable. And there's no added heat index to the forecast. It just doesn't feel any hotter than 90 to 91. Now, yes, that's hot. But compared to what we have coming our way, today's the kind of day that if you need to get something done outside, it'll be a little bit safer. Monday and Tuesday, our highs will be at 100 and the heat index could be up around 110. I'll show you how long that heat wave could last. Ken?
All right, Elizabeth, we're following some breaking news here in the WRAL Traffic Center. This is what it looks like on Highway 55 in the northbound lanes, Williams Road, if you will, there in Apex, not far from US 1. You can see first responders working this crash scene. One lane is closed. Just one lane of traffic is getting through. And, of course, in those southbound lanes, we're seeing the onlooker delay. This has been going on now for the last hour or so. Here's what it looks like on a live traffic map. You can see the huge delays starting at US 1 and going all the way back to State Road 540. And I'll tell you what, if we widen out the view and you're thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm coming in from Holly Springs, Speedway Arena, I would recommend just getting on State Highway 540 and working your way around Williams Road and avoid what's happening there on Highway 55 in those northbound lanes. Elsewhere, a lot of incidents dotting on live traffic map this morning, but none is causing any problems for you this morning. You just see some police activity depending on where you are. Northern loop of the Beltline, things are flowing along nicely in all directions, and that's really the case for most of our major routes in and around the capital city. You're getting ready to head out the door. Tune us in on the radio, 101.5 HD3.
We have breaking news we're following this morning. Part of NC 98 in Durham is closed as teams are working to repair downed power lines there. This is happening near Mineral Springs Road and Breedlove Avenue. The Durham County Sheriff's Office says this repair work could extend into the night. At the height of the overnight storms, we're talking about more than 8,000 homes and businesses in Durham were without power, and that number is now down to just about 500.
Just about an hour ago now, search crews made a heartbreaking discovery, pulling a body out of Jordan Lake. Jeff Hogan here in the WRAL Live Center for you. We have Sky 5 video during the search. While authorities were out there, a lot of local law enforcement, Chatham County Emergency Management, all in that area near the dam at Jordan Lake because they were looking for a 21-year-old man who was fishing off the rocks right below the dam last night when the storms hit. They rolled in quickly. That's a swift current area, a dangerous area. He fell in, and authorities have his name. They know who it is. They are not releasing that name just yet. We're waiting to confirm if that is the person that was pulled out of the water. There are all indications that point to that, and notifying the family. And just an emotional time overnight into this morning for them.
15 people are out of a home after a fire in Raleigh, and this happened at an apartment complex on Bluebird Court near Jones Franklin Road. Fire teams say that it started when a tree fell during last night's storms, and that hit a power line and fell on the building. Sky 5 was above the building about an hour ago to get a look at the heavy damage that was on the rooftop. You can see it right here on your screen. The fire knocked out power for about 80 people for hours, and Raleigh Fire says no one was injured in this. Protesters held a gathering in Raleigh this morning in response to a high-profile immigration bill. Today, we're waiting to learn whether Governor Josh Stein will actually veto that bill. WRAL's Ali Kadlabar shares the scene at the governor's mansion this morning.
More than a dozen protesters gathered here right in front of the governor's mansion for about an hour, demanding the governor to veto anti-immigration bills. A group representing the Party for Socialism and Liberation shouted on a speaker, banged pots and pans, and rang bells. They shouted, "Wake up, Stein." They say they are demanding the governor to veto anti-immigration bills today. The governor's office says he's not home. The governor is in Paris for an air show. The protesters acknowledged this, saying it's unacceptable for him to be out of state right now. We expect to learn the governor's decision on those anti-immigration bills later today. Reporting in Raleigh, Ali Kadlabar, WRAL News.
Search and rescue efforts are underway as the conflict between Israel and Iran marks 1 week today. An Iranian strike hit an office building in Beersheba, Israel, and that's where rescuers are looking for people who are injured. Video from Israel's emergency services agency shows the damage left behind. This conflict between the two sides, it began last Friday. That's when Israel launched a series of strikes that killed Iranian military officials. President Donald Trump is giving a timeline of 2 weeks before deciding on whether the U.S. will strike Iran. And gas prices are expected to rise as a result of the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. An analyst with Gas Buddy says prices could rise 10 to 20 cents, and diesel could climb 15 to 25 cents in the coming days. Now, as for why this is, petroleum analysts say that when there's instability in one major oil-producing region, prices tend to rise everywhere else. Not because of an immediate supply issue, no, but because of fear one could happen. Fear is often reflected in oil future markets, and that affects gas prices.
We could eventually see prices back above that $3 a gallon mark. So long as the situation persists and or worsens, prices may drift a little bit higher than that. But if the situation does start to de-escalate, we may eventually start to see prices recede. But at this point, I think there's a little bit more upward momentum.
Oil and gas prices also affect the cost of transporting goods through the supply chain. Police in Zebulon say someone started shooting inside the community park during a private event. In a statement, town leaders say no one was injured. On-site security shut down the private event after shots were fired. The town says its Juneteenth celebration scheduled in the park tomorrow will go on as planned. A Fayetteville police officer charged with sexual battery had his first court appearance yesterday. Officer Jacob Jones is accused of inappropriately touching someone while reviewing surveillance video for an investigation. In court, the district attorney said another person has come forward claiming to be a victim as well. Police say this happened back in May. The judge made the decision to reduce Jones's bond from $25,000 to $10,000 secured. The state Senate passed a bill that would block people from under the age of 21, I should say, from buying products containing THC. The bill would limit how much THC drinks, edibles, and vapes could contain. And it would also completely ban synthetic THC, such as Delta 8 and Delta 10, as well as Kratom. Retailers would have to pay for a license to sell the product, which would be regulated much like alcohol. And THC products would have to be tested for safety. The measure now goes to the state house. TikTok will be allowed to keep functioning in the U.S. for users for at least another 90 days. President Donald Trump again extended the deadline for the app to be sold to an American buyer. A new executive order grants a third extension for Chinese company ByteDance. The company must sell the platform if it wants to continue operating in the United States. Before leaving office, former President Joe Biden signed a bill into law pending the app's sale. Now, the deadline for a deal to sell it is now mid-September. Today, we'll hear from Raleigh Mayor Janet Cowell as she joins mayors from all across the country. Cowell is at the 93rd Annual U.S. Conference of Mayors in Tampa, Florida, and this event gives local leaders a chance to talk about how to better serve their communities. They're covering everything from public safety to boosting local economies and improving infrastructure. And this event runs through the weekend. New this morning, data from AAA predicts record-setting travel for this year's 4th of July holiday. More than 2.3 million North Carolinians will take a trip the week of Independence Day, and that's actually an increase of nearly 80,000 from last year. More than 2 million people will be on the roads, and nationally we're talking more than 72 million Americans expected to travel, which is an increase from last year as well. Your time is 8:40. Car brake failure. Honda is recalling thousands of cars because of its brake pedals. We're going to run through the models affected, possibly even one you're driving. And struck by lightning. A teenager is recovering this morning after being shocked. What we know about that strike in New York City's Central Park. And let's go ahead and take you outside to take a look at the DBAP this morning. Whew, it's sunny on this summer solstice. Today has the most daylight hours we will see all year, so enjoy them while you can. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner will share how all that sunshine comes with some hot temperatures in the coming days.
8:43. Let's take a live look at Wilson. Look at this. The whirligigs in downtown Wilson whirling around pretty strongly. We had some gusts yesterday, 20 to 25 miles per hour. It's not going to be quite as breezy as it was yesterday. We've had our front come through, but we may see gusts up to around 15 miles per hour. Right now, heading out the door, temperatures are upper 60s to low 70s, except Fayetteville. It's already jumped to 78 degrees. So it will be a fairly fast warm up. It's going to be a nice day at the pool. But if you really have something you want to or need to get done outside, The best window of the next week is going to be from now up until around 1 o'clock. Our temperature at that point, 85. There is no humidity that's really going to have an impact on us today, so it will be hot at 91, but it will feel like 91. Now, as we get into the weekend, we'll start to feel like triple digits on Sunday, and then we get into a dangerous heat wave for next week. I'll show you coming up. Ken?
Well, it's about that crash we've been following on Highway 55. It's really cleared up right now. It's a situation where we're being told that they have really cleared the scene, and it's but we're still seeing some lingering delays in that area as a result of that situation. Here you see it right here, those lingering delays still on Highway 55. As we take you out to that area, this is US 1 near Highway 55. That's the exit to Williams Road right there. And if you can see, traffic is flowing nicely in all directions on US 1. Similarly, on the northern loop of the Beltline, I-440 and New Bern Avenue, that and most of our routes are delay-free at this hour.
All right, thank you, Ken. The LA Dodgers say they denied a request from ICE agents to access the parking lot at Dodger Stadium. Anti-ICE protesters showed up at Dodger Stadium, and that's because federal agents pulled over near the ballpark. The Dodgers said on X that ICE agents came to the stadium and requested permission to access the parking lots. Well, the team says it denied the agency entry to the grounds. But ICE responded to the Dodgers post on X saying, quote, "False. We were never there," end quote. The Department of Homeland Security also replied saying Border Patrol vehicles were in the stadium parking lot very briefly, unrelated to any operation or enforcement. The oldest fraternity at UNC Chapel Hill, it's shut down. University leadership says Alpha Tau Omega's board closed it because of reports of member misconduct, including alcohol violations. The fraternity's CEO told the Daily Tar Heel the chapter's financial dishonesty, that also played a role. The CEO claimed they allowed expelled members to continue to pay rent and fees. The fraternity is no longer recognized as a student organization. A Chucky doll from that movie Child's Play, it's at the center of a discrimination lawsuit. A Rocky Mount woman says Truist Bank violated the Americans with Disabilities Act. She claims her manager put a Chucky doll on her office chair. In her lawsuit, the woman says it happened after she told him about her intense fear of dolls. The woman was diagnosed with PTSD after that case, and WRAL reached out to Truist for comment on that lawsuit, but we haven't heard back, not yet. North Carolina's largest yard sale starts this morning. From 7 a.m., since it's already started, until 5 p.m., both today and tomorrow, shoppers can search through more than 100 miles of used goods at the 301 Endless Yard Sale. The sale stretches along Highway 301 through 5 different counties, and you will find everything and anything at the sale. Clothes, toys, to farm equipment and antiques. But do they have vintage video games? I guess I have to drive to find out. Learn more about the Endless Yard Sale online. Just a heads up, drivers, Honda is recalling nearly 260,000 vehicles because the brake pedal could shift out of position. The recall covers certain Honda Pilots between model years 2023 and this year, and it also affects some of the company's Acura brand vehicles. The recall report says that a piece of the brake pedal in some of the vehicles was not secured properly during production, and that can lead the pedal to shift out of place and increase the risk of a crash. Now, if your car is affected, you can take it to your local Honda dealer and have the brake pedal inspected and fixed for free. Ford is also having a recall. We're talking nearly 200,000 cars were recalled because backseat occupants have a risk of becoming trapped. The recall covers certain Mustang Mach-E vehicles from model years 2021 to this year. The report says the electric Mustang's back doors will lock on low battery after the driver or passenger exits and shuts the doors. That means the backseat passengers could get trapped in an emergency. Ford will notify affected owners in the coming days, and a second notification is expected in late September once a fix is in place. Leaders in Buncombe County are ready to end the state of emergency from Helene. Commissioners voted to end the official declaration on June 30th, and the county manager says recovery, it's not over. It's just now that the focus is changing from immediate needs to long-term work. State grants will help 2 Wake County water projects move forward. A $50,000 grant will allow Raleigh to study whether green storm water infrastructure would be useful at Lake Wheeler. Wake County will receive $15,000 to study the space at the state farmers market. And the State Division of Water Resources awarded more than $1.1 million in grants. Now, most of the money went to projects in areas affected by Helene flooding. A 15-year-old boy survived a lightning strike in New York City. NYPD says he was standing under a tree in Central Park, and at last check, the boy was taken to the hospital. The National Weather Service says lightning strikes killed 20 people in the U.S. every year and injure hundreds more. More housing is coming to Research Triangle Park. The Wake County Board of Commissioners approved a zoning change that will allow for growth in the community. There are more than 7,000 acres of land in RTP. And until now, it's space that's been all business. But the zoning changes are allowing for non-research related business and residential space. That means 55,000 people who work there every day won't have to leave.
You have retail and amenities and a health club and recreational facilities and residential. Very proximate to your work is really a model that many newer research parks have undertaken.
Just over a quarter of RTP sits within Wake County borders, and the rest, that's in Durham County. Durham County's Board of Commissioners will take a look at a similar zoning request. An actor is preserving through a life-changing diagnosis. That's the subject of what's trending today. In Grey's Anatomy star Eric Dane is hitting the red carpet after recently announcing his battle with ALS. Dane was at an event for his new series on Amazon Prime, Countdown. The 52-year-old actor announced his diagnosis in April, but said in an interview this month that he is not letting the disease slow him down. All right, let's get over to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner. She is tracking it's hot. Breaking news, it's hot outside.
It definitely is. We take a live look here at the airport at RDU Terminal 2. Nothing but blue sky here, so it looks beautiful outside, and our temperature is okay. The thing that's different today versus what we've seen the last few days is our dew points down in the mid-60s and may drop even farther. The dew point's the measure of moisture in the atmosphere, so that's how we tell how it's going to feel outside. Dew point 65 or lower feels pretty comfortable. As that dew point climbs into the 70s, it feels really muggy and oppressive and uncomfortable. Our temperature, even at 1 o'clock this afternoon, is still 85. So our temperatures today will be a little bit cooler and the humidity will be a lot lower. So today's going to be a good day to get out and get done whatever you need to do. If you need to work in the garden, if you need to go do some outdoor exercise, whatever you're up to, today's going to be a good day for it. We'll climb to 91 at about 4 o'clock this afternoon, and it will feel like 91 instead of feeling like 98. I mean, that's still hot, but of course it doesn't necessarily put us into a danger zone for most people. 70 in Roxborough, 75 Goldsboro, 75 in Southern Pines. Our current temperature, 68 in Garner and Knightdale, 72 in Holly Springs, 69 up in Durham. Around town, we'll climb to 91 to 92 around the Triangle and in Fayetteville, but our humidity or our dew point is going to stay nice and low. Out Raleigh on Fayetteville Street looks good. We don't have rain in our forecast really until, maybe sometime next week, toward the end of the week. Temperatures this evening will be comfortable, 7 o'clock, 84, and at 8 o'clock, 82. Now, as we get into Sunday and the earlier part of next week, high pressure builds in and really starts to build the heat. High pressure systems have sinking air, and that keeps a lot of precipitation from developing. That sinking air also compresses and warms, and this is going to bring us much hotter temperatures. So this is a look at our potential for some dangerous heat. It'll feel like 92 today, not bad for this time of year, and then 96 tomorrow, also not too bad. But then by Sunday, it's 102. Monday and Tuesday, 110 to 113. That's what it's going to feel like. So we already have WRAL weather alert days in place for both Monday and Tuesday. We're going to be watching Wednesday too. It looks like 99, probably going to be a similar conditions, but we're going to give that another day or two to watch it just to see if things begin to break a little bit. Our heat risk for Monday is major, and then for Tuesday it is extreme. And of course, heat impact on your body is cumulative. So once we start to see this heat, if you have to work outside, and maybe that you're fine Monday and Tuesday and then not fine Wednesday, just keep in mind that you need to be prepared for this first big heat wave that we've seen this year. Obviously, these will be the first triple-digit temperatures that we've seen this year.
100 degrees. Gross. Hey, before we go to break, here's a look at your winning NC Education lottery numbers.